If you can be like this man, surviving alone in the wild for 2.5 years, not only enjoying delicious fruit smoothies, but also building a large specialized shelter by hand, then I think this whole thing is absolutely cool. Today is Old Ma's first day in this area. He bid farewell to his former shelter and started a brand new journey. He only brought some simple tools when leaving, as well as a few balls of dough made of cornmeal and cocoa powder. But these supplies are only enough for him to live on for about 3 days. So, after eating a little and resting briefly, Old Ma hurriedly began searching for a new place to settle. For wilderness survival, the #1 essential is definitely water source. While looking for a new home, he followed these dried up riverbeds in his search. After half a day of hard searching, he finally found a place suitable for building a shelter underneath this giant rock. With just a little simple tidying up, it can become a decent temporary shelter. Seeing that it was getting late, Old Ma immediately started making a bed. He first cleared away the pebbles on the ground, leaving only some soft, fine sand. The cleared stones weren't wasted either. Piled to the side, they can provide some wind protection. Then he paved the ground with sand. The soft, fine sand will allow him to sleep more comfortably at night. After finishing this, he prepared to go nearby to find materials to build the shelter. Unexpectedly, after walking a short distance down the canyon, he accidentally discovered a pool of water. Although it looked a bit muddy, a quick taste showed the flavor wasn't bad. Once boiled, it would become safe drinking water. But right now, he had to finish the shelter first. He went to a nearby juniper tree and stripped some bark. This soft bark is very suitable for bedding, or to use as tinder for starting a fire. He brought it back and spread it on the soft sand. Then he gathered some dry wood. The temperature difference in this Gobi area is extreme. Don't be fooled by the heat of the day. At night, the temperature drops to just a few degrees, so he had to start a fire quickly. Looking at the row of notches on Old Ma's fire kit, you can tell just how glorious his past records are. After just a few minutes of friction, Old Ma successfully created an ember. With his design, the surrounding rock wall reflects the heat generated by the fire very well. It looks like he'll be able to sleep soundly tonight. On the way here during the day, Old Ma also collected some of these purple berries. After eating a few casually, he fell deeply asleep to the sound of the fire. Early the next morning, Old Ma, not yet out of bed, hurried to add wood to the fire. Last night, adding firewood woke him up countless times, so he didn't sleep very well. But his physical strength recovered a lot. He ate a little of the food made earlier after getting up. He restored the surrounding environment and continued on his journey to find a new home. Not far away, he found a small stream. Although not directly drinkable, it was fine for washing his face, and there would surely be more downstream. So he decided to replenish his water supply first. It's the familiar formula and flavor. Drilling wood for fire is something Old Ma can do with ease. After lighting the fire, he took out the small clay bowl he fired previously, fetched some water from the river and boiled it over the fire. Then he used cold water to cool it down. Simply like that, he obtained some safe water. After a brief rest and filling his bottle, he continued walking downstream, continuing to search for a suitable habitat. After following the river for a day and a night, Old Ma finally found a place suitable for settling down. This place is not far from the water source, so now he needs to make a fire and build shelter. After digging a pit in the ground, he picked up some stones and piled them together to make a stone fire ring. Then he collected some wood nearby and started to build the shelter. He first dug 2 holes, a dozen centimeters deep, in the ground, then propped up tree trunks as supporting posts. After placing a not-so-sturdy crossbeam, he packed the surrounding soil tightly, placing a row of tree trunks on the back side. Although it's not finished yet, there is no time to continue building today. The night temperature here is very low. He must start a fire quickly. He intended to teach a lesson on hand drill fire making, but alas, after 10 minutes of repeated friction, he couldn't get the fire going. He had to take out his survival kit again and use the bow drill method to get an ember. After a few minutes of effort, he successfully obtained the ember. Obviously, method is more important than effort. In a short while, Old Ma lit up the stone fire pit. But it was getting late. It seemed impossible to get food today. And his physical energy was greatly depleted. He could only rest for the night and see tomorrow. Early the next morning, Old Ma, having recovered some strength, got up early. When he came here, he found that the nearby stream had many native fish species. If he could find a way to catch these fish, he could obtain a long-term source of protein. Cactus spines can be used as fish hooks. And these yucca plants are excellent line material. They contain a large amount of plant fiber inside. But to get these fibers, some processing is needed. In the process, it also provides a lot of saponin. This saponin is a natural soap, perfect for washing Old Ma's face, which hasn't been washed for days. The extracted fibers twisted together, after being woven by Old Ma's skillful hands, become an excellent fishing line. Nearby, willow branches serve as ready-made fishing rods, and the fishhook was also made clearly from a cactus spine. With an excited heart and trembling hands, after baiting it with a small insect, Old Ma finally started trying to fish. After repeated attempts for over half an hour, Ma still caught nothing. So he decided to change strategy and try again. He threw the hook directly in front of this catfish's home. But after teasing it for a while, the hook came off. Obviously, the hook, made of cactus, wasn't up to the task. Helpless, Old Ma had to give up. He can only try again after improving the hook. But often, when heaven closes a door, it opens a window for you. On the way back, he found a deceased wild rabbit. He picked it up and smelled it. It hadn't spoiled yet. After inspecting it, this rabbit didn't have any fatal wounds. But there were some bean-like bumps on its ears. He guessed this rabbit might have died from some infectious disease. But Old Ma, who had been hungry for 2 days, couldn't care that much. Back at camp, he quickly polished a stone knife, preparing to dress the rabbit. Still worried, Old Ma carefully checked it again. Finally, he felt this rabbit probably died of tularemia. This virus doesn't affect humans greatly. But out of consideration for safety, he decided to avoid the rabbit's head and skin, the cleaned kidneys, liver, and heart. Old Ma roasted directly on a stone slab. These organs contain a lot of heme iron, vitamins, and many essential nutrients, indispensable for wilderness survival. As for the rabbit meat, Old Ma placed it in his fired clay pot to stew. This cooking method not only makes the rabbit meat more tender and juicy, but also preserves the nutrients to the greatest extent. In the end, he drank every drop of the soup. Even the remaining rabbit skin was processed into a genuine leather storage pouch. This unlucky rabbit was really utilized to the fullest extent. The reason he chose this place to build a shelter is largely because there is a lot of this clay underground here. Just use a gourd to add a little water, then knead repeatedly with hands. After shaping, you can get a good quality Adobe brick. But gathering enough to build a house is destined to be an extremely long process. So right now, he has to solve the food problem first. This tree, called Palo Verde, produces bean pods similar to soybeans. The beans inside contain a very high component of vegetable protein. The area where Old Ma is has many of these trees full of beans. In a short while, he gathered a full 2.5 pounds. These beans don't need processing and can be consumed directly. As for the taste, it has a sweetness similar to peas, and the quantity is enough to fill him up. After eating and taking a short rest, Old Ma prepared to further improve his shelter. He went under a juniper tree and stripped some dry bark. The texture of this bark is very soft. Old Ma tied them together with his handmade rope, making a mattress made of juniper bark. Then spreading a sheepskin blanket on it and lying down, eating the beans collected during the day. This little life is simply too comfortable. The next day old Ma made adobe bricks all morning. Until noon, when he decided to go out and find food. Unexpectedly, he bumped into a passed-away bull. He thought he got lucky again. But listening to this crisp sound, obviously this wild bull has been gone for at least 2.5 years. There are no edible parts inside. But with Ma's take everything character, he still tore off a piece of hide and some bone. As for the rest, he can't carry it right now. He can only come back later to deal with them. Then he went to the river and soaked the torn hide in water, waiting for it to soften, to make use of it. But since he was already there, he decided to take a bath before leaving. While washing, he found the fish he failed to catch previously, all gathering around, nibbling at his 50-year-old dead skin. At his feet, this instantly made Ma furious, almost to death. Thinking, I haven't eaten you yet, and you come to nibble on me. He reached out to grab them. But these fish aren't stupid. Seeing no more dead skin to eat, they all slipped away. Then old Ma took out the fish hook from last time. But after half an hour of trying, still no result. It felt less effective than hanging a piece of dead skin. Exasperated, old Ma picked up the cow bone he just found and turned his gaze to this catfish. This whole operation completely broke Ma's defense. But upset or not, he still needs to eat. There are many manzanita berries on the surrounding bushes. These berries are fruits from last year. The surface is already very dry. After crushing them, he can make old Ma's favorite drink. But being out for so long, the fire had gone out. He spent some effort drilling wood for fire again. Doing anything in the wild consumes a lot of time. Cooking his little drink and snacking on a few beans. Continuous physical exertion made old Ma feel drained. After eating, he just wanted to lie down for a while. But not long after lying down, the unpredictable weather brought rain. His shelter was basically a convertible style. Helpless, old Ma had to get up and strip some bark. After returning, according to odd-even function rules, looking at the quadrant, he wove a bark roof for himself. Although it looks a bit crude, as long as the rain isn't too heavy. Ma indicated cracking some beans will get him through. After this rain, the clay pit where old Ma made bricks softened. This allowed him to dig better quality clay. So old Ma decided to try making a clay pot. He first picked out all the small stones from the clay, then added water to gather the clay into a ball, to make the surface of the shaped clay pot smoother. Old Ma added some mysterious liquid to it. After drying, he polished the surface with the stone. Then he could prepare a fire for firing. Obviously old Ma's speed in drilling wood for fire shows at least 2.5 years of practice. After lighting the bonfire, he put the clay pot inside. While waiting, old Ma didn't stay idle. He went to the nearby Palo Verde trees and picked quite a few beans. For old Ma at this stage, these beans remain his biggest food source. Basically most of his time every day is spent making adobe bricks and picking beans. After waiting for several hours, the fired clay pot was out of the oven. Tapping the clay pot gently with a finger, the crisp sound indicates the firing process was successful. Although it's just a test piece, as long as the feasibility is proven, the rest is just a matter of time. In the days that followed, old Ma persisted in adobe brick production. The collected bricks began to take shape, and food reserves were quite sufficient. Cracking beans, eating berries, occasionally roasting a cactus pad for variety. Life was passable. Except that no animal protein and fat intake daily made him feel very weak. Under desperation, old Ma also put the surrounding ants on the menu. Ants are small, but they are meat nonetheless, and their protein content is dozens of times that of beef. Perfect for replenishing physical strength. As time went by, the originally green bean pods all ripened. Under every Palo Verde tree nearby, lots of mature beans were scattered. They can give old Ma a continuous supply of plant protein and fat, as well as carbohydrates. In order to collect them better, old Ma used yucca cordage to tie sticks, using a willow branch as the frame, and placing a piece of dry wood at the bottom, making a basket to collect these beans. With the basket he could collect in large quantities, harvesting a whole basket full in no time. However, these beans are very dry and need to be soaked for a while before use. Adding the berries collected usually. The food reserve is considered very sufficient, since there is no worry about food for now. Old Ma decided to renovate his house. After long exposure to the sun, these adobe bricks are very hard, and the quantity is considerable, enough for a slight renovation of the house. Old Ma first used sticks to mark out the area on the ground, then moved the bricks to stack them sequentially. As for the gaps, he can only use mud for now. When stacking to the third layer, he decided to eat something. He first cooked the beans soaked earlier, then went to pick some amaranth nearby. And this wild vegetable called purslane. These wild vegetables are very common worldwide, and without fertilizers and pesticides, they are safe to eat. But those who don't recognize them should just watch. While the vegetables were cooking, Old Ma wasn't idle. He piled up the remaining layer of adobe bricks, then stuffed some juniper bark into the cracks. By the time this was done, the bean and vegetable stew was ready. Ma picked up his bone spoon and ate heartily. Seeing Ma's enjoying expression, you know, the taste must be good. After enjoying lunch, he continued perfecting the shelter. He built the walls into a slop shape, then propped the original crossbeam up again. The fire pit is half enclosed next to the shelter. This reflects heat very well. Then placing the tree trunks back on. And finally, putting on his hand-woven mat and covering with some unwoven bark. Now, this shelter looks very secure. These pink prickly fruits in front actually grow on these desert cacti. But getting them requires peeling off the spines on the surface. These fruits contain high sugar and vitamins. Definitely an excellent food for wilderness life. As for the taste, it's similar to dragon fruit. This one bite made Ma show an expression of enjoyment, as if returning to the carefree days of the past. He didn't forget to eat and pack some to take away. No matter where he goes or what he does, he basically has to eat a few. Old Ma usually gets his rope from this yucca. But today, collecting them isn't for making rope. Fastidious Old Ma is going to use it to bathe. These plants contain a lot of natural saponin and have no additives. Better than soap. After washing off a layer of grime, feeling incredibly refreshed, Old Ma went to the wild bowl he smashed for a long time before and collected some remains to bring back to camp. These bones for Old Ma still have many uses. In the following days, due to having these endless cactus fruits, Old Ma focused his energy on brick production. The weather is slowly getting colder. He needs a decent house to survive the winter. However, while working intently, Old Ma found many locusts suddenly appearing nearby. For Old Ma, who urgently needs protein, naturally, he won't let go of such a good opportunity. Immediately putting down the work at hand, he went around catching grasshoppers. These are all leaping proteins. Back at camp, he couldn't wait to skewer them and roast them over the fire for about 2 minutes. One bite leaves a lingering fragrance, endless aftertaste, full of chicken flavor and crunchy. Although they look a bit ugly, their protein content is dozens of times that of beef. With protein intake, his work efficiency is unlike before. He can cut wood with just a stone in hand. This also laid a solid foundation for future house construction. To fire better quality pottery requires higher temperature conditions. Obviously, the original fire pit couldn't suffice, so Old Ma prepared to build a kiln. He dug 2 connected pits in the ground at the bottom, then placed stones around the pit openings. This became a simple tunnel kiln. Air fueling the fire through the tunnel can increase the internal temperature. After putting in the shaped clay bowl, Old Ma sealed the kiln top, then fully stoked the fire inside, ate something and went to sleep. Early the next morning, Old Ma checked the situation right after waking up. The internal temperature had naturally cooled. There were no cracks in the pottery old Ma worried about. The entire firing process was very successful. In the following days, old Ma continued preparing materials for the new home. He prepared a lot of yucca ropes and these large adobe bricks for building a fireplace. Looking at the materials, that were quite sufficient, Ma finally decided to start building the brand new shelter. Picking up a stick, after planning the new house in his mind, old Ma started breaking ground. As for the original house, before the new house is finished, he doesn't intend to tear it down, because even with sufficient materials, building the new house takes a long time. He planned to build walls around the original shelter first. This way, even before completion, it provides some wind protection. In order to spend this cold winter comfortably, Ma designed a fireplace for his shelter and a heated wall, and between every adobe brick, he used clay to seal them tightly. Then compacted it with his original foot technique, ensuring the built house won't leak any wind. Soon, the wall height reached about half a meter. He took some large adobe bricks to cover the top of the heated wall. Before capping, he put some stones inside to increase the duration of the heat. Sitting on this heated bench when it's cold will be incredibly pleasant. Seeing the stove almost finished, old Ma made some pottery in his spare time and put it in the stove to fire. This way, when the fireplace is done, he can start making food for himself. Only the next morning did he take out the pottery fired last night. Then he continued building the shelter. Due to continuous lack of nutrition recently, this made old Ma struggle a bit with the work. His strength failing, but to live in the new shelter sooner, Ma could only grit his teeth and persevere. After sealing the fireplace gaps with yellow mud, after 3 days and 3 nights of struggle, old Ma finally completed his fireplace. But with such an exquisite fireplace, he certainly needs to make a matching chimney. The whole heating system was designed very reasonably by old Ma, from the fireplace to the heated wall to the outside chimney. This technique makes me suspect he came to learn from us. Northeast China. Thus, old Ma finally demolished the old shelter, preparing to spend the night in the new home. However, his moving speed suggests he should find a mover online. After moving the old bricks here, he put the original roof back up, although still unfinished. Living here is already much better than before. Taking out his old partner, he prepared to light the fireplace. Through this period of practice, old Ma's wood drilling skill has reached perfection. He lit the flame of hope in minutes. Ma spent the first night in his new home, eating berries next to the fireplace. Early the next morning, because he slept too soundly and forgot to add wood, old Ma woke up early from the cold. This made him realize winter is coming. He needs to speed up the new house progress. But currently, there aren't enough bricks. He can only make bricks while building the new shelter. However, building the remaining walls was much simpler, just stacking them up sequentially. Two days later, he finally finished the walls of the new home. But for Ma, without modern tools, collecting wood for the roof is a big problem. He can only rely on a resin lamp, burning these tree trunks, then cutting with stones. After several repetitions, he can get the desired wood. The collected wood needs bark scraped off with the stone knife, then carbonized at the bottom in the fire. Then using some thicker woven yucca ropes, he can fix them together as the house frame. Weak old Ma didn't forget to demonstrate its sturdiness. Saw it. Keep working. You can see, old Ma's physique compared to when he first arrived has thinned a lot. My heart really aches for Saburo Ma. In this environment, doing just this little thing is extremely complicated, requiring a lot of time and energy. To roof the shelter, Ma again targeted this juniper tree in front of him, until he stripped it completely clean, leaving contentedly carrying the bark. After returning, along with some original bark, he carefully covered the new home's roof, covering the entire roof tightly. He moved 2 stones as the threshold for the new house. Thus, the house is basically completed overall. Fastidious old Ma, before moving into the new home, didn't forget to bathe himself with Yucca until he washed himself clean and tender. Before returning inside the shelter, holding bean soup, enjoying the long-lost warmth. Long-term life in the wild made Old Ma's beard grow very thick. So he decided to deal with his beard, just shattering the black obsidian in his hand. He gets a sharp edge. The main component of this obsidian is silica, basically similar to glass. The shattered surface shows a conchoidal fracture and is extremely sharp. Getting the shards, Old Ma processed some yucca to create foam, making the process smoother and preventing cuts to the cheek. But seeing Old Ma's red, swollen face, I silently felt pain for Ma for a second. But the effect looks pretty good. The whole person looks much younger. To cook food in the new home, Ma specially made a clay plate with holes, cooking a pot of beans on it as the first meal in the new home. With food and shelter, Old Ma thought of the delicious native fish in the river. Recently, eating beans has really become dull for him. He wove these vines together with yucca rope, using a vine as the spine, making it into a fish trap. After arriving at the river, after observation and selecting a prime spot, he put the fish trap in and placed some bait beside the trap to increase the chance of catching fish. After doing this, he washed up and waited nearby. After about half an hour, Ma lifted the arranged fish trap. As expected, still nothing caught. This made Ma feel a bit frustrated. Worse yet, it started snowing after he returned. Ma hurried to move the made bricks back inside the house. Usually in the area where Old Ma lives, it rarely snows in winter, so this snow caught him a bit by surprise. Even the shelter's door hasn't been made yet. Helplessly, he could only block it with bricks for now. Pushing away the bricks early next morning, the world before him was completely covered in white snow. Undoubtedly, this made Old Ma's living conditions harsher. But take things as they come. Since he can't resist, he'll find a way to use it. He made some jam using cactus fruits. Then took a clay cup to fetch some snow back. Simply like that, making a cup of fruit smoothie. Have to say, Ma is really a logic genius. Luckily, the snowstorm didn't last long. After a few days, everything was vibrant again. Old Ma, having stayed in the shelter for days, finally couldn't hold back, coming out to continue usual work. Although the snowstorm has passed, he still needs to build a door for the shelter. After all, he aims to live here for a lifetime. With quick effort, he made a door using yucca and juniper bark. As for installing the door, he can only prop a stick to make do for now. After Old Ma's digging over this period, the place where he gets clay is already over a meter deep. But the deeper clay has better quality. Ma used the coil method to make 2.5 flower pots for himself, because wanting to settle in the wild long term requires a certain agricultural foundation. Relying on nature is still unstable. But in this dry season, seeds planted directly in the ground struggle to survive. So Old Ma planted them in these pots. This way he can use minimum water to keep them moist. When they grow bigger, transplanting to the ground will increase survival rate greatly. After doing this, unwilling to give up, Old Ma took the fishing and went to the river again. But this time is different. Ma prepared 2 strategies. He caught a tadpole and hung it on the cactus spine hook by twitching the rod tip to mimic insect struggle, attracting fish in the water to bite. After repeated failures, Old Ma finally harvested this hard-won fish. Before returning to camp, he arranged a stone slab, roast fish by the river, for Old Ma's wild life. This can be said to be a big step forward. Looking at the fragrant roast fish on the slab, Ma couldn't help but drool with emotion. In a blink, another 10 days passed. Under Old Ma's careful care recently, the seeds planted earlier have rooted and sprouted. Old Ma prepared to transplant them to the ground. But before this, he first dug out some wood ash from the fireplace, added it to the soil where he prepared to plant vegetables. This can adjust the acidity and alkalinity of the soil and prevent some pests and diseases. Then he planted these corn, beans, and pumpkin seedlings sequentially into this improved soil. And to water them, he specially fired several clay pots. For water output, to care for these seedlings, Old Ma can be said to have taken great pains. But temporarily, he doesn't need these seedlings to provide anything for him. The various foods produced nearby are enough to support his daily consumption currently. Not far from his shelter, he also found a shrub that bears tomato-like berries, wolfberry, and this berry, called lemonade berry. These dark red fruits are very sour. Using them makes a drink similar to lemonade. Whenever tired and thirsty from work, Old Ma drinks a cup to relieve fatigue generated during work. This shelter now is actually quite good in all aspects. Just its height makes Old Ma, who is 1.85 meters tall, feel very awkward going in and out. Plus, having produced many bricks recently, Old Ma decided to renovate the shelter. He first dismantled the original roof, then started heightening the walls with Adobe bricks. And to increase light inside the house, he built a full 4 windows for the shelter. Between every brick, Ma used clay to seal the seams tightly, ensuring the built house can be passed down for 3 generations. Man gone, house remains. Until building the wall to a height of 1.5 meters. Did he stop? Putting the original frame back up, then tying some branches as roof purlins. After covering with the juniper bark roof, the house renovation was successfully completed. The heightened cabin, indeed, looks much more grand. Ma can finally straighten his back inside. As time passed, Ma is about to spend his first birthday in the wild. He started preparing ingredients for himself days in advance. He first collected some cactus fruits. Because its sugar content is high, it's very suitable for brewing fruit wine. Taking out the pulp inside, putting it in a pot to seal and ferment. Then he went to collect some holly leaf cherries and acorns that can be used to make flour. Ma prepared to use them to make a birthday cake for himself. After returning, shelling and drying these acorns, he put them in a stone mortar to crush. 5 minutes later, he could get some fine acorn flour. But to make a cake, this amount is still too little. He could only spend several hours repeatedly grinding, collecting enough acorn flour. But further processing is needed before use, because these flours contain lots of tannins. This makes the acorn flour taste very bitter. So Old Ma constantly added water to it, slowly leaching the tannins inside through this process, leaching the tannins inside until there is no bitter taste before eating. To add some ritual to the birthday, Ma also made 2 semicircular clay pieces, threading rope through pre-made holes, forming a nearly round vessel. But this thing isn't for eating. Locally, it's called a piñata. People here believe, as long as you break it on your birthday, it can bring you more good luck. After finishing these, he tasted the acorns soaked for half a day. The bitter taste basically disappeared. Ready for the next step of production. He didn't waste the water left from soaking acorn flour, pouring it all on his vegetable garden. Through Old Ma's careful care recently, the vegetables planted before are growing very well. Before long, he can eat his own planted pumpkins and corn. Back inside, he peeled some cactus fruit pulp, adding it to the processed acorn flour. Unexpectedly, Ma made himself a fruit cake. This style is really extraordinary. Finally, after shaping the cake, he sprinkled a layer of fruit pulp on top, covering with a clay bowl. It was ready to bake in the fireplace. Then he took a stick to the yard, ready to break his piñata. He first untied his headband, covering his eyes, then silently chanting "Magic of Love, spin around," he started his performance. Ma put many cactus fruits inside, instead of candy. But just as the piñata broke, heavy rain started. He could only hurry to eat a bite and return to the house to enjoy the food prepared for days. This fruit wine with 0 additives. Just sniffing it made Ma feel a bit intoxicated. Maybe feeling drinking from a bowl wasn't satisfying. He switched to a large clay cup. Then he took out the long-awaited cake. Although not perfect in shape, I think at least the taste can't be bad. However, for Ma, who has been away from modern society for long, this is already a rare delicacy. Outside brings wind and rain, but he eats cake in the hand-built shelter, drinking fruit wine, enjoying this unique solitude and freedom. Every time to get life essential salt, Ma has to walk very far into the canyon. So he travels light, carrying only a gourd. Actually, in this desert and Gobi area, there is a lot of this salt water. In the dry season, water evaporation leaves a layer of lake salt. But these salts generally need washing and processing before consumption. But for old Ma, there is no room for choice here. In this season, where old Ma lives, all around are many cactus fruits ripening one after another, and the yield is very large. But the characteristic that these fruits don't keep well means they can only satisfy hunger for a period. So old Ma planned to process them, making them into emergency food, easy to store. After several days of sun exposure, moisture in the fruit is scarce. Now further processing can begin. First, crush all these fruits with a stone. Then they can be kneaded into desired shapes, or shaped like an energy bar, because these fruits have high sugar content, plus the removal of moisture inside. One bite is simply a calorie bomb. As old Ma lives better and better here, the shelter welcomed its first guest. His friend felt city life was too boring, so he wanted to experience life in the wild. After giving the friend some tasks, Ma ran to tend his vegetable garden. But this guy actually learned quite well, playing the coil method extremely smoothly. When Ma came back, he had already made a bottle and cup himself. Seeing this little stuff couldn't stop this guy, Ma took him to the river to meet these enemies of his life. All along, looking at the abundant resources in this river every day, Ma was helpless. Sure enough, after they struggled for a long time, still nothing gained. But this guy seemed to have his own ideas. He actually went to make himself a harpoon. Although the first stab let the fish run away. Turning around, he caught a catfish. Seems this guy has some skills. At this rate, maybe a feast tonight. But ideal is plump. Reality is bony. The two tossed about all afternoon, only catching that one fish. Getting up early to go back and cook something. This fish was paired with beans by old Ma, made into a pot of delicious fish soup. To entertain the friend, old Ma also brought out his treasured fruit wine. After a few drinks together, they spent the first night of reunion, back to back in the shelter. Unexpectedly, the friend left the next day. He thought this guy could stay a few more days. This made old Ma feel somewhat reluctant. But the friend brought a piece of pork when he came, giving Ma some comfort, more or less, to make better use of this hard-won pork. Old Ma decided to smoke it into jerky. Only then can it be preserved for long. After slicing into strips, he strung them with rope to smoke inside the shelter's chimney. The excess fat was stewed directly by Ma. Ready to have a good meal tonight. Before eating the pork, he excitedly ran to the yard, doing pull-ups. After returning, the pork was ready, although a bit fatty. Old Ma ate it non-stop. Turning around, he went to check the smoked meat. Although cooked, there was still too much moisture. But the nose-hitting aroma stimulation was irresistible. He ate a bit before putting them back to smoke. When this pork is smoked well, old Ma's life is destined to go up another level.